the machine identity threat model. It's free and accessible to everyone, and it's available at threatmodel.venafi.com. Like Mitra's attack, the model looks at the problem from the perspective of the attacker, and we organized our model to TTPs. So we carefully mapped and documented TTPs that are associated with machine identities and machine identity attacks. Now let's go through the live demo. This is our machine identity threat model, a very unique resource. It's an industry standard framework to protect machine identities. Most of you who are familiar with attack will probably know the matrix view for the enterprise domain. So we did something very similar here. The metric represents the TTPs that are associated with common systems and platforms in the enterprise domain. So it will include Windows, Mac OS, Linux, cloud technologies, Office 365, and others. And if you go here to the left of the bar, you can filter by the platforms and systems that you're interested in. So if your organization only has Windows machines, or you're interested in only Windows machines, you can click on the Windows bar and see on the TTPs that are only relevant for this operating system. If you want to see cloud resources, you can see and filter by the specific cloud technology that you're interested in and see the techniques that are relevant only for that one, that are of course mapped in this threat model. But let's go back to the enterprise view and break it down. Let's break down this matrix. So across the top, at the top, we have the tactics. These are the high-level objectives that attackers are trying to achieve. And they are kind of similar to an attack life cycle and similar to the attack kill chain. So from preparation to infiltration and then exit. So an examples of tactics will be initial access. How did they get in? And how did they persist on our network? And how did they evade our defenses? And then how did they laterally move across the network? And then finally, how did they exfiltrate their data? And what impact did they cause? Then these tactics are broken down to techniques, which refer to the specific methods that attackers are using to achieve those tactical goals. So for example, if we said an initial access is a tactic, then external remote services or supply chain compromise would be the technique to achieve initial access, or valid accounts. Now, tactics, techniques, unlike tactics, contain subcategories. Some of them are more of a category that contains a list of sub-techniques underneath. So if a supply chain is the category, then hardware supply chain would be the sub-technique, or software dependencies and development tools compromise, or software supply chain. So this is a subcategorization that we created in order to have a better view of the general techniques used in the enterprise. You can filter them in and out using these bars as well. So you can show them and see them all in full view, but it's a bit hard. So it's much preferred to kind of start with the closed version. So one level down, we have procedures. Procedures are the specific implementation of each technique by a specific threat actor or tool. So if we said that persistence is the tactic, and then external remote services would be the technique, then the use of Dropbear SSH by Sandworm in the attack on Ukraine would be the procedure. So this is a specific implementation of how the attackers used external remote services to gain persistence in the network of their victims. So the techniques will also include a description of the method that is used by attackers and a list of platforms and systems that it applies to, permissions as well, and data sources that you can use to see this behavior, as well as general mitigations and recommendations that you can use. Each technique will also include a list of tools and threat actors that are known to be using this technique in the wild. So for instance, here, in the case of Sandworm, you will be able to go directly to the threat actor page from this technique to read more about this threat actor. Read more about its nature and the other associated names or how other companies are tracking this threat. The techniques that this threat actor is known to be using that are most likely related to machine identities, although not necessarily, and references for where you can read more about the specific threat actor and the techniques that are described in the page. You can also see the full list of threat actors that are mapped in this platform on the top bar to access and see the list of all threat actors that are known to be associated with machine identity attacks, their description, and details. We can visit the page of this threat actor uncategorized 2452 with the recent Sunburst attack on SolarWinds and read more about this threat actor, the associated names or how it is tracked by other companies. But you can read, again, all the techniques that are known to be used in the attack. It's all based on information that is shared by the community, and you can also access all the resources from here. So we mentioned threat actors, and we also have tools. So in external remote services, we have Linux Rabbit also as a tool that is known to use this type of technique. You can also go and visit the tool page to read more about this type of malware and what other techniques it is using to attack machine identities or exploit machine identities, and of course the reference to it and which platforms it applies to. You will also have a full list of tools that we mapped in this threat model. And when I say tools, I refer to both custom code written by the threat actors, but also operating system utilities and open source software and other tools that attackers are using. So it can be Linux Rabbit or Sunburst, but it can also be a built-in utility in Microsoft and Windows, like Netstat. And you can read more about it here. You'll also have a list of mitigations that are relevant for the enterprise, where you can read about recommendations or general mitigations that are not specific to your organization, but can give you a better idea how to mitigate specific threats. Again, with more focus on machine identity protection. And this threat model is going through continuous enhancement on a daily basis. So what you see today is not what you're going to see next week. And as more attacks come to light, these will be added as additional content to this matrix. So as you understand, this is a pretty unique resource that we created here, and it's available to all of you.